Hello, everyone, and welcome to another community conversation here, Fridays at noon on Facebook Live and HBG Channel 20. I'm Mayor Eric Pappenfuss. We've got a great show lined up today. We're going to talk a little bit about small businesses in Harrisburg, how we can support them, and what they're doing in this difficult time. We've got some great guests. We have Ivan Black, who is the owner of the Next Step Performance. Gary Fowlings, who's the executive director of the United Methodist Neighborhood Center, and Charlotte Todd, who's the owner of Minuteman Press. We're also joined by Jamal Jones, our director of business development, and Nona Watson, who's our director of economic development at the city, to give us updates on some new programs that will benefit everyone. So should be a great show. I want to start, as always, with some announcements. And let's begin with a few events that are happening in Harrisburg, including one that's happening tonight right on the Capitol steps. I met with Capitol Rebirth, a local organization, this past week, and they're hosting a bit of a town hall on the Capitol steps tonight. It's called What's Next for Harrisburg. It starts at 6 p.m. People can come on out. You must wear a mask and be socially distant, but you can listen to the panelists. And tonight's panelists include a couple city council members, other elected officials. It should be a really good format, so I'd encourage people to come out to that. And then tomorrow, Kevin Maxon is hosting what he's billing as a Unity Festival at Reservoir Park. I will be there, probably arriving about 12:30. The event is from noon until 8 p.m. at Reservoir Park. And one of the nice features about the Unity Festival is that it's going to feature local minority-owned businesses. And you can come out and support them and do it in a safe manner outdoors in Reservoir Park all day tomorrow. So I hope people will take advantage of that. And then, as a heads up, there will be a town hall that we are planning with the organizers of Black Lives Matter in Harrisburg, also at the Band Shell in Reservoir Park, coming up on July 23rd. I don't have the details for who all is participating in that event yet, but I will certainly be there and have committed to it early on, and we're working closely with the organizers to bring that on the 23rd. So if you want to circle your calendars for July 23rd, I think that will be an important event. And one of the things we may be discussing at that event, along with other topics, is most likely going to be the proposal for an advisory board for the police here in Harrisburg that council has recently taken up. And City Council Chair Asha Green has said that she will be having a number of engagement sessions that are virtual over the course of the summer. This will be potentially an opportunity for a non-virtual town hall to discuss those topics. And on that, I'd like to say that I am deeply heartened and encouraged by the outpouring of public interest in this issue. We've had, at the last two council meetings, more comments on this topic than I can remember on really any other topic over the past 6 or 7 years. Very thoughtful and filled with passion and insight and suggestions for potential amendments to the bill. And my comment is that's exactly how the process is supposed to work. The input is supposed to be given to the legislative branch, and City Council can make adjustments or amendments as they see fit. And then hopefully we'll get me a bill when they get back from their summer recess at the end of August. I'm going to sign whatever is presented to me, and I believe that we need such a board very much here in Harrisburg. My only concern is I believe something is better than nothing. I know some of the comments have basically said, if it can't be this way or it can't be that way, it's not worth doing. And I don't subscribe to that at all. I believe we should pass the best we can at this point. Amendments are fine, but we need this board. It's a good start. And if it needs to be strengthened and improved over time, it can be. But let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good and end up without a board and without seizing this particular moment. So a little editorial comment there, but we'll talk about it, and we can talk about suggested amendments and everything else at various forums, including the one I just mentioned at Reservoir Park with the organizers of Black Lives Matter on July 23rd. I know we're going to be talking about businesses today, and the health news that I have this week is concerning, and I think we need to put the whole conversation in that context. We have the latest BioBot numbers now for as recently as June 28th, so we're only about a week or so behind the testing. They had been lagging longer behind prior to this past week. And it clearly shows an increase in cases. Actually, since the last sample, projected cases are up in Harrisburg by 78%. It's showing basically a rebound of the virus, which had gone down as it had elsewhere in June, now as we move into July. And that does mirror what we're seeing throughout the country and what we're seeing in the testing here in Dauphin County. In fact, the BioBot numbers are estimating that the prevalence rate, which is something which they calculate based on the prevalence of the virus in the samples, is as high as 16%, which is not as high as it once was in June, but is much higher than it had gone down to. And if we continue to see this trend go back up, we are in danger of potentially seeing a double dip in the graph, which is going to potentially mean another shutdown. And I bring all that up because we're working so hard to try and support our businesses and get our economy back on track here in the city, that if we don't continue to take the virus seriously, we could potentially put all of that in jeopardy. And I'd like to put a good word in for what happened here on the 4th of July just last week in Harrisburg. I thought we showed really all of Pennsylvania, and certainly those in the capital, how you could put on a safe festival that was properly social distanced, in which people were required to wear a mask, and in which people were able to enjoy themselves outside without spreading the virus. I was very pleased with the whole setup on City Island for the food trucks and how we all worked to make that a really good event. That shows we can do it. I want to continue to remind everyone to wear a mask. City Hall also reopened this past week, and I can report that has gone very smoothly. Please remember that Treasury is only open on Wednesdays, but when you come in the building, your temperature will be taken, and you will be required to wear a mask. I'm going to demonstrate my brand new City of Harrisburg mask right now. How about that? Had a couple of those made up, so now you can recognize me. If you don't, I've got the seal right there on the mask, and I'll wear this tomorrow at the Unity Festival. But we have to take it seriously. We can't afford, and many of our businesses can't afford, to have us go backwards. So let's reverse this upward trend that we're starting to see here in July, and get back to the point where we were a few weeks ago. It's really, really important that we all stick together and focus on that. So with that said, and I know that's sobering news, but it has to be said, I want to go first to our Economic Development Director, Nona Watson, who's joined us. And Nona can give us updates on a couple of things, but I want to start with the latest program that we've put in place to try and help small businesses in Harrisburg. And this is a program which we have just rolled out. Council just approved it before they went on break. And you may have already received a letter in your mail. If not, it's coming soon. Look for it, explaining who's eligible and what the program is about. And that letter came from myself and from Nona Watson. So, Nona, what are we talking about here? It is a commercial credit that businesses or account holders can get if on their trash bills, and it's a forward-looking credit. But what are we doing? Who's eligible, and how do people apply for this credit?
Okay, thank you so much, Mayor. It is a pleasure to join you today. Good afternoon to everyone. We are very excited to introduce this new program. And as you said, Mayor, we are constantly looking for ways to provide support, to provide guidance and financial relief during these difficult times. So with that said, the program we're talking about today is called the Commercial Sanitation Credit Program. If your business or a business where you rent space was negatively impacted by COVID-19, you may be eligible for a one-time credit on future trash bills. And if you are eligible, the city will apply the credit incrementally over the final 4 billing cycles of 2020. This program is designed to provide relief to eligible applicants in the form of a credit of up to 2 months on collection and disposable rates that were paid during the shutdown. So to be eligible for this program, the business must be located in the city of Harrisburg. The applicant must be a city licensed non-residential business paying commercial rates on your sanitation account. I just want to say that again. The applicant must be city licensed non-residential business paying commercial rates on your sanitation account. Must have been current on your commercial sanitation account as of March 16th, 2020. That's the date on which Governor Wolf imposed a statewide shutdown of all non-essential businesses. You must not have received a prior credit or reduced rate from the city during the state of emergency. And finally, you must be able to demonstrate that your business was negatively impacted by Governor Wolf's orders, proclamations, or directives that required certain businesses to close or to restrict their operation while urging residents to stay home. If you are interested in this program, you must submit your application by August 1st, 2020. Both online and paper applications are available. For more information, you can go to harrisburgpa.gov and click on coronavirus updates. And if you have further questions, you can email me at business@harrisburgpa.gov. So much, Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Nona. I think you did a good job explaining the program. Let's unpack it a little bit for people at home. And I think, Momin, you can probably bring up the application on the website, which is nice. So I found it very easily just by simply going to harrisburgpa.gov/coronavirus, which is our coronavirus information page. And on that page, there are business resource links, many of them that talk about the various things that we're doing. And one of them is right there on the screen now. It's the Commercial Sanitation Credit Program information application. And if you click on that form, which Moment I think you can probably do, it'll bring up the form. It'll bring up the letter, which basically will talk about the qualifications that are needed, and then it'll allow you to submit that form online. Now you can do it online, or you can do it by returning the letter that you received in the mail. Either way works. But as you mentioned, Nona, there is a deadline for this, and that deadline is August 1st. So we want to try and get the word out as broadly as possible. We know it's the summer. We know there's a lot going on, but part of the reason it's August 1st is because it is a forward-looking credit. One of the nice things about this program, I think, and is that it's going to provide some relief to businesses now moving forward into the future. It's not just a retroactive credit or grant. It's something that is going to literally cut their bills for the last months of the year. For September, October, November, December, if you qualify, your bill will be cut in half. Potentially by this credit. So it's real relief, and it's meaningful relief, and it's one less bill to have to worry about and have to figure out how to balance. And again, I think, Nona, as you mentioned, really any business qualifies as long as it was negatively impacted by Governor Wolf's order. So that means you don't have to have been completely shut down like many businesses were. You could be a restaurant and just simply have seen your receipts impacted and decreased by switching only to takeout. But the idea is your trash volume was most likely impacted, and we want to help. We want to help because of that. So that's the program. And if you have questions, again, Nona, how do people reach you?
They can actually email me, Mayor, at business@harrisburgpa.gov.
Great. So this is one of a series of programs that we have. Nona, since you're here, I wanted to ask you also about the Neighborhood Stabilization Grant Program. Now, we're going to talk to some of the businesses here in a moment that received round one of that grant funding, which was co-funded by both the City of Harrisburg and Impact Harrisburg. But as many know, we've been looking to put additional funds, additional resources that the city has into a phase two. And while that phase is not quite ready to go live yet, it is in the planning stages. So what can you tell us about what we're thinking and what businesses might expect from a second round of the Neighborhood Stabilization Fund?
Mayor, first I'd just like to say that round one was just such a success, and I just want to say thank you again to Impact Harrisburg for all the hard work that they did with round one. We were able to actually give out 314 grant awards, $5,000 each. And we're looking to do something similar. Of course, we know the round two, we're actually using federal dollars. So the program is actually going to look a little differently than it did on phase one, but that's okay. What we're thinking about doing is providing to our businesses rental or mortgage payments looking back to March 15th. So as you stated, we are actually in the planning stages of that, but we're looking to launch that phase two really soon.
Yeah, that's exciting. And we put up another $500,000 in federal funds to fund this program, which is a lot. It means it can affect a lot of businesses. And I know there were some businesses that missed the deadlines for the first phase for whatever reason and are really hoping to be included this time, and that's great. So we'll continue to spread the word on that. One of the things that all these programs has in common is that you not only do you have to be within the city limits, which makes sense because that's our jurisdiction, but you have to be a licensed business. And maybe, Nona, you could just talk about a little bit about how easy it is to become a licensed business, because that is something that we're encouraging, and I think it shows you the value of actually having a city business license, the ability to be included in these programs. So if somebody's watching and doesn't have a business license, what should they do?
Actually, Mayor, they can actually go to harrisburg.gov as well. Our tax and mercantile office, there's information on the website that they can go on and click, and the information is very, very simple for them to follow. And as you stated, this has been one of the requirements for our programs, and we don't want people to actually miss out on these great opportunities because they are not city licensed. So we encourage them to get city license as soon as possible.
Okay, thanks, Nona. It is simple, and I will add as well that for the new sanitation refuse credit program that we're talking about, landlords are also eligible because it's basically who's paying the trash bill. Sometimes it's paid by the business, sometimes it's paid by the property owner. It really depends, but whoever's paying the bill is going to be eligible. And if you're a small business that was impacted and you have a good relationship with your landlord, you should let your landlord know about this program because it will benefit both of you. And I mentioned that in part because landlords also have to be licensed. So you either have a business license or a landlord license in the city of Harrisburg, and that will open up this eligibility. So thank you, Nona. We're gonna move on to some of our guests. Our first guest is Ivan Black, who's the owner of Next Step Performance. Ivan, it's great to see you again. And I was particularly interested in hearing from you because gyms and the fitness industry has really been hard hit by the coronavirus nationally. And so I want to know more about your business, and I'd like to know how you're making a go of it in this current climate. So welcome, and tell us a little bit about Next Step Performance.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for inviting me to this forum. And it's been, like so many industries, it's been really tough having to shut down the business and, pivot and shift to basically an online platform. Considering what I do, I'm not like the big gyms. I have a small group fitness format where, I was working with anything from 8 to 12 people at a time, and we would move around the studio in small groups, and we just take on different fitness challenges. And to that regard, what I do is different. But I fell under the umbrella, so I had to shut down just like everybody. And I had a member base that was filled with people that I'd come to become really close to. They become family almost. And you care for them and they care for you. And it was really tough to break away from doing things the way that we did. It was great, though, to then pivot and take on an online format to keep the community together and to keep people, to keep the mission moving, staying fit, staying well. But it's been a challenge. And coming out of quarantine, I was forced to change the way we do things because we're trying to ensure some safety. So we shifted from, I removed all the machines from the studio and shifted from a circuit format to a station format. So everybody comes in and has their own station now that we're reopened, and they don't share equipment. And I've had to take other measures to ensure safety, like taking temperatures as people enter. We work out with masks on now, which is different. It's very different. But we're a community, and we're trying to take care of each other. I've brought in air filters that will give us another layer of safety. And, just these are the steps that we've taken to try and keep everybody safe, but to get back to some level of normalcy. But, like I said, we're a community where the members become family and you protect family.
Yeah, thanks, Ivan. I know a lot of businesses, right when the initial shutdown happened, had to really scramble to try and bring components of what they were doing online. And it sounds like you did just that. Can you talk a little bit about the experience in going virtual and how you did that? And are you still continuing to do a virtual component now that you're open back up? And if so, how do people find out about it?
Yes, thank you. And so shifting to the online format has been interesting because previously I was just kind of telling everybody what to do, and now I'm doing it myself. So in that respect, I've come out of COVID, come out of quarantine in the best shape of my life. And but we have shifted to an all body weight format because I was never certain what equipment people had at home. So we were operating through Zoom and jumping on similar to the way we are now. And turn the music up, and we had a class schedule, turn the music up, and we get moving. I demo the movements, and then everybody joins in with me. And I've continued to do that because while it was a way of keeping the community going during quarantine, it's become a path forward and an indispensable tool, considering that a number of my members are still not interested in taking the risk, but they still want to be a part of the community. And to be honest, I've enjoyed training online and being able to reach new people. I had family members that are in other states jump in on a Zoom, and that just wasn't possible, in person. So it's definitely become an indispensable tool that I've continued to utilize, and I hope to grow. And it'll be, it's all available on my access to it's available through my website, nsp.fitness. And it's something that I'll continue as even now that we've brought back in-studio classes.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. It's amazing how technology has really changed all of our businesses and is here to stay in so many aspects of our lives. But I would think, as you've described it, that's a really terrific way for people to connect from the safety of their homes and still have a sense of community. And as you mentioned, even in person and when open, you've always been focused on small groups. I think one of the things that I've heard is people have raved about Next Step Performance is just how much they like that small community feel, and that they appreciate the direct attention that they get from you. Can I ask? I know you were a recipient of one of the neighborhood stabilization grants, and can you talk a little bit about how that may have helped you get by over the past several months, and maybe why that program was important, and maybe why a round two of that program is going to be important?
Well, in a time of great uncertainty, you're just fearful for the future of your business, and for funds to come in from the city that you belong to. Number one, it helps alleviate some of that fear. You're able to put those funds into place to pay rent, pay bills, especially at a time when revenues are down. And in the back of your mind, you're also it feels good to be recognized by your city, and to know that your city is pulling to see the entire community come out of this healthy, and and continue to move forward with their missions as small businesses. So you feel appreciated. You feel like your business is seen and valued, and it's good to know that the city is fighting to see its businesses come back and survive. And round two would definitely help some of those businesses that weren't able to receive funding. I know that I was looking for it, and I searched, and when it was available, I jumped right on it. But I don't know that all businesses had that luxury, or were able to find the funding. So a round two could help reach more businesses and ensure that our community comes back. We don't want to come back to empty retail fronts. We want to come back to healthy businesses, and we want to survive this.
Yeah, and we're certainly glad that you are surviving, and really pleased. Have you considered taking any of your classes outside? And is there anything that the city would welcome exercise classes in its parks and playgrounds and elsewhere? Is that something you've considered?
Absolutely. In fact, with my birthday coming up, that was my gift to myself, to do an outdoor class on July 17th.
Okay.
So working on doing that, and we're going to be launching that or sending out information on that in the newsletter for the month. So we're excited to get outside and enjoy some fresh air with our masks on, socially distanced, of course, but to get outside and to get some good work in.
Yeah, and just as a practical standpoint, maybe you can recommend, are there types of masks or brands of masks that are particularly good for exercise? I know that it is hard for people to breathe through a lot of these different types of masks. So what do you recommend as a professional?
What we found is that the gaiters with the drawstring are they're pretty useful, because the mask can get, especially a cloth mask, can get soaked in sweat, and then it becomes pretty challenging to breathe through it. But when you get the gaiters with the drawstring, they can stay in place, and and you can find them made out of a wicking material. So that just makes it easier to breathe through, and it doesn't become waterlogged. We found that to be the most useful.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for that advice. I appreciate it, Ivan. And we're gonna talk here at the end with Jamal about a new initiative to really, hopefully, drive folks to our local businesses, and I hope they will check out Next Step Performance. So appreciate you coming on. Let's go to Charlotte Todd next, who is the owner of Minuteman Press. And Charlotte, I imagine especially with all of the telecommuting and the closing of a lot of the businesses in the downtown, your business is really taking a hit. Can you talk a little bit about the impact of the virus on your business, and how you've been able to make it through, and where we are now? And welcome. Glad you're here.
I'm wearing a mask because I'm at my business right now.
Yes.
So I hope you can hear me. We were considered printing manufacturing other, so we have been open during the pandemic. unfortunately, Mayor Papenfuss, most of my customers, because we are a business,
Right.
were closed, and we are still waiting for a lot of the businesses to come back to this area. There still are a lot of people working from home, and I know that's impacted us. That's impacted a lot of the retail and the restaurants in this area. So yeah, our numbers have been down for the last few months. I did get the grant from the city that did help with the bills. Thank you for that. I did get the Payroll Protection Act. I did apply for a loan with the SBA and also with the CARES Act grant that came through PA, just because I don't know as a business owner how much longer this is going to go on. Projections are year end, possibly beginning of next year before we have a vaccine. So yeah, this has had an impact on myself. I've been, trying to keep my business going, keep my employees employed, and figure out new ways to market and get my business name out there, because we did a lot of training and events, and right now the events pretty much for the most part have been canceled with COVID-19, and a lot of the training has went online for my customers. It's not in person because of COVID-19, and it's not safe to do so right now. So.
Yeah. Look, boy, I imagine it's been tough. On the one hand, you say that you were one of the businesses that weren't actually required to shut down, but at the same time, all the businesses around you shutting down. The normal volume of business that would come is obviously going to be impacted greatly. Well, let's talk about. I think it'd be helpful for others to hear a little bit about some of the other programs you mentioned, both of which are SBA programs. The payroll protection plan, which you qualified, was a big deal. Recently, they've released a list of businesses in Dauphin County that receive such grants, and I know it's been helpful. Excuse me, but can you talk about how that allowed you to maybe keep people on board that you might have otherwise had to lay off?
On, which is good. I'm rotating them right now because of space constraints in here with social distancing issues, because I don't have a really big shop. We do have social distancing signs for our customers and areas for them to stand. We do limit the number of people in the shop. We do wipe down all of our other surfaces every day. We do have the plexiglass up. We're requiring customers when they're coming in to wear masks. So the PP has helped with paying for my employees and for some of my rent and utilities, which has been great. But like I said, my concern is with this virus, and I'm sure with all the businesses in the area and the country, how long this is going to go on and how long it's going to impact us.
Yeah, and I understand that anxiety, and we're looking, as I reported on some of that data earlier, that we really don't want things to get worse. We were doing so well in Pennsylvania, and now we've started to see things tick up again, and nothing like what we're seeing in other parts of the country, but nonetheless, it's going in the wrong direction, and we've got to really buckle down. Are you finding that your customers are complying with the mandatory mask rule and with the other social distancing things that you've put in place?
Perhaps a few. I know I had one customer who came in, she literally had a medical exemption. And in that case, when they have medical exemptions, I just asked her to wait outside and we would hand her print job. But majority are being good and they're complying with it. The masks, I really haven't gotten any backlash where people are saying, no, I'm not going to wear it. So that's been good. And most people are doing what they need to be doing, which is good. Because you're correct, Mayor Papenfuss, we do need to get the numbers down and have people stay healthy. But I do know, Mayor Papenfuss, with a few of my customers that are businesses, they weren't aware of the grant with the city. So they weren't aware of it, so they didn't apply for it. I know some of them are hurting right now because some of them did not get the payroll protection loan. So they're hoping for a second grant from the city in order to pay their bills, especially the hairdressers, the beauticians, the barbers that were closed for the time period. And they have those back rents that they have to pay. So I know a lot of them are, trying to figure out how to make a go of things per se. Keep their businesses stable and in the city and prominent.
Yeah, that's great. Please continue to spread the word that there is going to be around to. Again, you could recommend our website, harrisburgpa.gov/coronavirus, and then click on the business programs. You can also make them aware of this new trash credit program, which may be a small but meaningful credit. And we're trying to reach as many people as we can. And as you know, the PPP program really was designed for really required an accountant and a whole level of financial information and a relationship with a bank that maybe not the smallest businesses in Harrisburg have, but are still hurting, and that we still need to try and reach out and help. So talking a little bit specifically about what your business does, I imagine that there's a lot of things that can be done virtually now that maybe were being done by walking in an old-fashioned way originally. Can you talk about how maybe your business is adapted with through the crisis to use technology in such a way to expand what you offer and what you do?
Customers can mail packages, order either through our email, through our website. We can literally deliver it right to their door. They can come in and pick stuff up, and we can do a curbside delivery. So they can have a touch-free system where they don't have to come in or go outside of their house or their business to get an order. So yeah, they can go right to our website and order stuff, and we can contact them if we have any questions about the order, get it for them, and process it. And for people who are afraid of the virus or who perhaps have pre-existing conditions, who don't want to leave their house or their business, I think that's a service everybody enjoys. There is no additional cost for it. So we've adjusted in that way.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us more about some of the things you offer at Minuteman. Why would people, yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So printing mayor packages, we do everything from business cards to posters to banners, to shirts, to stickers. It depends on what the customer wants. And with a lot of our printing, it's unique to what the customer wants. So we can be doing training manuals one day, we can be doing a banner the next day. It just depends on what they want. We work with them to try to make sure their business information or their logo is prominent on their information, and they're happy with what we print. So they're getting their message across to their customers, so they can advertise themselves, their nonprofit or business, what they do.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of businesses are thinking, how can I comply with CDC guidelines, have the proper signage, have the proper, markings on the floor? Are you getting a lot of requests for coronavirus-related information printing?
We have gotten mayor packages for the local businesses. The restaurants right now have certain compliance. Like I said, the hairdressers and the barbers do. We have the must wear mask signs. We have the social distancing signs and the floor graphics. We have them available in English and Spanish, depending on their customer needs. And that is required for, like you had mentioned, all businesses. It is a necessity right now. So we do offer those. We have them pre-done up, so all we have to do is print them off for the client. If they have specialty colors or specialty logo they want on it, we can also do that for them.
That's great. And how do people reach you? What's the easiest way to place an order?
You can go to our website. It's harrisburg.pa@minutemanpress.com, and let us know if they want to order something. We can help them with their orders or their print information process.
Okay. Well, thank you, Charlotte. Good luck to you, and thank you for coming on and telling us a little bit about how Minuteman has weathered the storm. And we look forward to helping promote your business and Ivan's business here in a minute as we talk about our local spending campaign. But before we do that, we are joined, I believe, on the phone by Gary Fallings, who is the Executive Director of the United Methodist Church Neighborhood Center right on 3rd Street. Gary, are you with us? Yeah, yeah. Oh wait,
Oh, wait, no.
There's
Yeah,
a
there's
visual.
a visual.
All right, fantastic. Good. Hey, so Gary, tell us a little bit about how the virus has impacted the neighborhood center and your offerings, and sort of how you're coping with things currently.
Well, I think, for me, Eric, it was really difficult because I came on board at the neighborhood center right at that time. I actually started my first date was March 23rd. So we
Wow.
were right.
Wow.
Wow.
Tough first day, I tell you. Yeah. Okay.
We were right in the midst of the pandemic, and our doors were already shut. But I was faced with reopening those doors, and just really comforting parents and letting everyone know that safety was at our forethought, and that we would do everything that we could to just provide a safe and secure facility for their children.
Yes. So, but so obviously, a lot of what you do has to do with kids. And how has your programming been impacted, and what are you doing? Did you take some of it online, as many businesses did during the height of the epidemic?
Well, we did not provide any education online, virtual education. Reason being, most of our students, again, we deal with toddler to school-age children. What we did do is we wanted to make sure that those families were provided with some of the essentials during the pandemic. So we wanted to make sure that they had the books and the games and the activities to keep those children engaged during that time period.
Sure, and I absolutely understand that, and the school district itself really has struggled in trying to address how to reach especially the youngest kids, but also how to reach those that don't have access to the same technology that others have. They've done a lot of outreach and a lot of distribution, but we utilize Channel 20 and are still utilizing Channel 20 for some of our programming. So tell us now. So now, what type of programming is occurring, and who is and how are you addressing the CDC guidelines?
Well, we have reopened our doors. We reopened July 15th. Limited capacity, so our numbers are down. Again, with the pandemic and with just everything changing, our field trips are limited, activities are limited. But what we're doing, we're finding some new and innovative ways of engaging our students and just keeping them busy and happy. We have because of the pandemic, we were forced to, again, we're sanitizing, we're disinfecting. We're actually throwing out those soft items that may, potentially put our students at risk. So we're doing many things, differently now that the pandemic has, again, caused us to live differently.
Yeah. Great. Can you talk a little bit about some of the programs that you're still able to offer even amidst these changes?
Yes, sir. We're still offering our child care program. We are a Stars 4 program, which means that we are one of the best of the best. Not only that, Eric, but our prices are low. We offer the best services for the lowest cost. I think that's important for people to know. We're looking again we're looking for new enrollment. Right now, we're also offering a summer adventure program. Our students are again going on field trips 3 times a week. There's an educational component where we have certified teachers there, and they're engaging our students throughout the morning, and then in the afternoon we are again taking those students on field trips, and again just finding ways to keep those students engaged, and again just provide the best services that we can.
Well, it's great to know that there are still some summer programming options for our youth that are occurring in Harrisburg. I know it's difficult and hard, and I know that many. First, with regard to childcare, it's fantastic that you're still able to provide that because that's a real need. But also, our youth are looking for activities and things to do, and with so many things canceled and so many opportunities not there, I'm glad that you're able to offer some programming. So, can you? What types of field trips are you doing, and who's eligible to participate in your programming?
Well, we have ages 5 through 14. Some of the field trips that our students go on, Camp Hebron. They were able to visit Reservoir Park. We take them to just some of the local places. Also, Zoo America, Hershey Park, places like not Hershey Park. We want to avoid Hershey Park. We are really definitely trying to avoid the amusement parks this year because of the overcrowding. So we're doing more state parks and things like that where our students can go on wilderness trips, Cherry Crest Farm, places like that where it's more outdoor activity, but it's also gives us the opportunity to practice the social distancing and again to follow all the guidelines set by the CDC.
Yeah, and so I imagine a nonprofit institution like yours has been not only affected by the decline in revenue from programming, which has been limited by the virus, but also with the overall economic situation that it has caused. It's harder for people to have the discretionary income to support programs like yours. But would you like to let people know how they can help if they are so inclined to do so?
I tell you, honestly, that was a major help for us. Major assistance, man. We were suffering, due to the pandemic. Again, our donations, our sponsors are down. And being a nonprofit, we depend, mainly on those funds coming in, from the community. And due to the pandemic, people were unable to assist us. We did still have support, but I think you guys stepping up, the city of Harrisburg recognizing that businesses were being affected, especially nonprofits, and that we were going to definitely need some assistance to continue providing the best services to our community. I think that was awesome. And again, that money, that those funds really helped us to keep things moving and keep our doors open.
Yeah, well, look, I'm glad that we were able to, and part of the reason you're on today is because we want to remember our nonprofits in the city, which are really small businesses in themselves, doing other types of important community work, and we want the focus to be on both for-profit businesses and not-for-profit businesses. But specifically, Gary, I was asking if people would like to make a donation. How do they make a donation? How do they support you and your efforts at the United Methodist Neighborhood Center?
Eric, please forgive me. I did not hear that.
Oh no.
They can donate. We do have a Facebook page where we accept donations. You can donate. You can send checks to the Neighborhood Center, United Methodist Church, 1801 North 3rd Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Those checks, again, should be made out to the Neighborhood Center, UMC. Again, and we have Twitter, and you can give us a call. I think one of the biggest things that we would like to see people do is to volunteer. Again, our children need us, our community needs us, and if aside from the monetary donations, that people could just give us a little bit of time. I think that will really benefit us and benefit our community. So that's what we need, Eric.
Okay, well, that's good to know as well, because I know many people are wanting to help and looking for avenues where they can volunteer, and to know that the Neighborhood Center would not only appreciate that, but would be able to help do that safely and in a way that's impactful for the community. That's great. So I hope people will reach out to you, and I thank you for hanging in there. Nope. Go ahead. You were
ahead.
going to say.
We have a wood shop area at the center. And what I am looking for is donations so that we can begin to provide our students with some vocational skills, carpentry, electrician, plumbing, things like that. And I think, that will really benefit us and benefit our community with so many of the vocational programs throughout the country, throughout the state of Pennsylvania shutting down. That's one of the things that we're really looking forward to doing. So if you guys, if anyone's out there who would like to donate or even volunteer to assist with that venture, we really appreciate it.
Okay, that's great. I'm sure there are a lot of people, and we absolutely need that vocational training. So, thank you, Gary. Thanks for joining us. And now, as promised, I'm going to turn things over to Jamal Jones, who is our Director of Business Development at the City of Harrisburg, doing a wonderful job. And Jamal, we want to talk about how we can support these businesses en masse in Harrisburg through a campaign which says, "Choose Harrisburg." When you're thinking about your how your dollars can make an impact, let's have that impact happen locally. But tell us about this program and how people can all get behind it.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. We're really excited about launching this initiative. As we've all heard from the businesses that are on the program today. Businesses across the city have suffered significant impact just due to the COVID-19 health crisis and also the statewide business closure order that followed. So Choose Harrisburg is a way to provide businesses with much needed support. Really, it starts with everyone being very intentional about where we want to spend our dollars. Many times, all of us as consumers, we spend our dollars based on habits and based on convenience. But what we're asking is that during the month of August, from August 3rd through August 28th, we kind of suspend, any other reasons, why you would spend dollars and really just focus on, how can we support businesses that are within the city of Harrisburg. Prime example, a lot of us are coffee drinkers. Maybe you prefer coffee from one of those larger, companies, larger chains. What we're suggesting is, during the month of August, if you can make that shift, try and consider one of the smaller coffee shops that, may exist in the city. What that does is, not only does it give a boost to, these individual businesses, but, if you look at, long-term effects, we hope that it provides a significant, boost to our local economy. So, and again, it really it begins with, how we think about, spending our dollars. And just being intentional about, really wanting to support businesses that are in the city. And it doesn't just, it's not just, your traditional businesses that we're looking at in terms of, it's not just retail or, just the food service industry or hospitality. We want to look at, every, business that you can really think of. If there's a way for you to maybe, to shift your focus from, businesses that are outside of maybe in our neighboring townships, and really just look at, how can we focus on, supporting businesses that are in the city of Harrisburg. We really hope that makes a long-term impact. Again, the program's going to run August 3rd through the 28th. So in the next couple of weeks, I think the community will start to see, more information coming out, today. So today's just kind of a preview, but registration is going to begin online on July 20th and will run through July 31st. So businesses will be able to complete a form and register online, which will allow them to participate in the program. So, quickly, I'll just mention there are some eligibility criteria. You do need to be a business that's in the city, kind of as we mentioned before for some of our other programs. You do need to be registered with the city and have that business and mercantile license. And we're focusing on businesses that are 50 employees or smaller. So, we really want this to impact our locally owned, locally controlled, small businesses that have suffered the most and really need the most assistance. So, again, this, the program, it's open to, it's really for everyone to think about, businesses, people, even local government. It's very important to think, and most importantly, spend locally first by choosing Harrisburg.
That's great, Jamal, and I hope everyone will sign up, and I hope we can put the full force of our city marketing behind it. I think it's a great program. I can think of other ways in which people can shop local or choose Harrisburg. You mentioned coffee. I think that's great. I think for those of us that get takeout once a week or so, let's resolve from the month of August to only support and get takeout from businesses that are based here in Harrisburg. We can do that. We can do it as a group. If instead of ordering something from Amazon, maybe consider a curbside pickup at one of the Harrisburg retail locations that offer similar items. And let me make a pitch for why this is important financially to everyone. It's not only important to the businesses which really need this support. It's also important to everyone in the sense that these businesses contribute tax revenue to the city of Harrisburg through the Mercantile Business Privileges Tax, and that tax helps fund city operations in a very basic way. We're not going to feel the impact of what has happened this year until next year. And as we're creating a budget for next year, we've got to take into account the fact that those revenues are going to be a lot less than what they've been historically. And that's going to mean millions of dollars in revenue less that's going to be able to go to essential services. So that's going to impact public works. It's going to impact police and fire and everything that the city does. So when you're shopping locally, you're not only helping the business itself, you are ensuring that the basic services which everybody wants and needs and deserves in the city are being able to continue as well. And that's part of why such a campaign is so important. So let's talk a little bit about how are we gonna promote this over the course of August? I understand the sign up, and do we have a variety of partners that are going to help us get the word out, Jamal?
Yes, we do. We're partnering with other local businesses that are in the job of supporting businesses such as the Downtown Improvement District, also the African American Chamber of Commerce. I've had some great conversations with them. So, these partners will, have agreed to, help us, promote this initiative by, placing that information on their websites, including it in their newsletters, and also promoting it on their various social media channels, as we will also be, doing those same things here at the city. Also, in the meantime, if anyone is interested or has more questions, they can contact me directly at businessdevelopment@harrisburgpa.gov.
Okay, that's fantastic, Jamal. And let's think about maybe a pledge component where we can get people to pledge, for the course of August that they will, do this or do that, all as a part of getting people invested in the program. So sounds great, and thanks for letting us know about it. We're going to have more on this through a public announcement, I believe, coming up here next week, and we'll continue to promote it in over the course of July, so that when August hits, everyone will know about it. And it's Choose Harrisburg. Use that hashtag on social media, right? Use Choose Harrisburg. Choose HBG, even shorter. All right. Well, thank you. I think that concludes our guests. Momin, any comments from the general public for our guests?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think we did get one message here on this topic. How does one get a listing of the businesses to participate in Choose Harrisburg?
I'm going to pass that to Jamal. So once we have such a list, how will people know which businesses are participating?
Sure. Yeah, once the signups are complete, that full list will be on City of Harrisburg's website. So you'll be able to go to the website and see a full list of businesses that are participating, so that you can patronize those businesses during August.
Yeah, and again, compliments to our IT team and for all that they've done to really help promote all these different business initiatives. Are all very easily accessible on the website, and they're all collected in one spot. And this new Choose Harrisburg initiative will be no different. So check it out. And that's even before we redesign the city website, because right now we're in the process of redesigning the city website to make it even more user friendly. But all of this is under the overarching business development portion of the website. So, great. Well, that does it for us today. And is there another
Yes.
question? Mo?
There's actually
sorry.
one more question,
Yes, they're coming in fast and furious. Yeah.
Regarding business development, that was the main question that we got. But we did have another question here from Levette regarding your earlier comment about the data, the
Okay.
concerning data.
Yes.
So, and this may be a question more for the school district, but I think she wants to hear from you as well. She asks, with your data, can you reconsider the reopening of schools and our children? If you yourself know that we need to take the virus seriously, what do you recommend for the children?
Yes. So the mayor of Harrisburg is not in charge of the Harrisburg School District when it comes to reopening. Currently, the Harrisburg School District actually is under the guise of the Department of Education, which is a state agency which has appointed a receiver. And that receiver, Janet Samuels, and that superintendent, Christopher Selmer, are the ones who are going to be tasked with the job of the reopening. Now, I just spoke to Samuels and Selmer yesterday via Zoom call and asked that very question, which is, are we honestly expecting students to return in the fall, and how is that going to work if the data continues to trend in this opposite direction? They're very much aware of it, and no decision has been fully made at this time. They're preparing a variety of alternatives. So I'm not here to say one way or the other whether or not kids will be going back to school in a physical way in the fall. I will say if they do, then there's going to have to be significant changes to the way that occurs. Smaller classes, less moving from one class to another, et cetera. And that is there's a lot of work that's going to have to be put into a thoughtful and safe plan for reopening our schools. All I'll say is that we're in this together. Nobody wants to see things get worse again before they get better. But we are a long way off from testing, widespread testing, or even a vaccine. So I think it is reasonable to be asking the questions whether or not it is in a public health best interest to send our kids back to school in the fall. And I'll continue to ask that question as well.
Okay. We have one more question that's just come in from Harriet, and I can direct this to Nona. With encouraging people to shop locally, what actions has the city taken to incentivize people to locate their businesses to the city?
Moment throwing that to you, Nona. I think the larger question of what we can do to incentivize businesses is something that it's a conversation we've been having. But if you were making a pitch to businesses right now in terms of why they should consider locating in the city of Harrisburg, what would you say?
And Nona, you are on mute right now, so go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. What would I say to encourage them to come to Harrisburg right now? I would encourage them to come to Harrisburg by letting them know that we actually have a good team, our economic development team, to work with them, to provide technical assistance, to help them to actually find a place if they were interested in locating a building. We can help them with that. And also just to let them know that we are working together, even during this time with the pandemic, to help them get established. We also provide training for the businesses to help them move forward. So there are just different things that we actually offer them to actually relocate here.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I think you're seeing some of the incentives. You talk about what incentives are there. You're seeing the incentives in a economic development team that is focused on trying to market and promote their businesses. Both Jamal and Nona work full time for the city of Harrisburg, trying to do just that. And you don't get that necessarily in other municipalities or other townships. You also don't get eligibility to some of the grant programs and some of the credits and things that we've put in place as a city, which we've done specifically to try and help our businesses. There's also a variety of other promotional tools and incentives that we could get into. But I recommend any business that's thinking about it, reach out to Nona and Jamal via the harrisburgpa.gov website, and we'll sit down and talk about what Harrisburg has to offer. And I'm glad people are thinking about that based on the conversation and the program that we've had today. And you got a little sampling of some of the businesses that are currently making a go of it right here in the capital city. So with that, we are going to end our program here today. I want to give a little plug for next week. We are working on a program related to community development in Harrisburg, and some of the projects that are both currently slated for production and also in the works for various key locations throughout Harrisburg. Should be an interesting conversation, and I hope you all will be able to join us. But for now, as always, I'm Mayor Eric Papenfuss saying thank you for watching another community conversation here on Facebook Live. And until next week, please stay well and stay safe.